7:00, we'll call the town board meeting of March 21st to order. First item on the agenda is the approval. Patrick, any changes?
Yes, Mr. Chair, please add under, let's see where we should put this. Added agenda items, discussion on lake level meeting tomorrow through Roger Chamberlain's office.
Where is it being added?
Lake level added agenda item, 9A.
9A?
All right. Anything else?
I'll do it.
All right, and Steve?
Oh, we can't,
Okay.
don't do that till we get to the
right.
consent agenda, so. I'll move to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, I need approval of payment of the bills.
So moved. I
Second.
sign them.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Item 4 is approval of minutes of March 7th. Anybody got any changes?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? That motion carries. Item 5 is consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pull two items for discussion, item 5A and 5C of the consent agenda.
All right, otherwise I need a motion to approve the remaining.
I will move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, you want to go to 5A first?
5A, I think, just has a typo on item, hang on a second, I'll get it, I think it's item number 4 on the, tell you what page it's on. It is on second page of the material on recreational fire policy changes, item number E. It reads, "The fire may not be lit prior to 10 a.m. nor after 11 p.m." And I think it said, should be after, or before 11 p.m. Should not be lit prior to 10 or before 11.
We can make that change.
What?
What?
You can't light the fire before 11 p.m.?
No, nor, it says the fire may not be lit prior to 10 a.m. nor after 11.
Right.
You can't have, but it doesn't say anything about, if you read what it was before, open fire recreation may not be conducted between midnight and 6 a.m. So where do you pick that part up? We don't want fires, according to the ordinance, late. So what were you trying to get at, I guess, the public safety? I'm not, this doesn't read clearly. I could be wrong,
So you can't light a fire prior to 10 a.m.?
Yep.
Okay. And you can't light a fire after 11 p.m.?
Maybe it should just say, fires are not allowed to be lit between the hours of 11 p.m. and 10 a.m.
It should just say and, not nor.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And who cares about lighting the fire? You just can't have the fire, period.
There you go.
I mean, what if you lit it at 10:55 p.m. and you had it going until 3 in the morning? That's not allowed, right?
Well,
That's right.
So
But according
what if
to
you
the
just got rid of lit and went with with the prior one that said no fires between midnight and 6 or whatever it is now, between 11 p.m. and 10 a.m.?
Yeah, actually, I think that's more clear.
yeah, how did we ever get to 11? What prompted the change to 11 versus midnight?
And 10 a.m. versus, I mean, it had been 6 a.m. Not that I get up that early to light fires, but
but why did the public safety people want to stop it at 11? A lot of people are in their backyards past 11. I'm just asking, I don't, you know.
I think the premise behind it was
I gotta believe noise complaints.
it's part of the noise, and just getting people inside after that.
Because you know if they're out at 11 around the campfire,
Yeah. They're having a good
other
time.
things go with it.
You're saying nothing good happens. That was our governor, but that was at 2 a.m. So how is it going to get changed to read?
I think there will be no fires allowed within Whitebird Township between the hours of 11 p.m. and 10 a.m. Sound good?
I still have a problem with the 10. I'm not sure why 10 a.m. Is there,
You want to barbecue your breakfast, Ed?
is it noisy at 7 when you run a fire? I guess I'm not sure.
I question why we put those hours in there. I need an explanation.
You can throw it back to the Safety Commission if you don't want to approve it.
Well, I guess, Scott, you're the liaison, was there much discussion about it?
Almost none.
So perhaps we should return it back to the Safety Commission and ask them to specifically look at that and give some rationale for those times, and
Yes.
any other area that you have questions on, we can ask them to give their opinions.
All right, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to move it, return this back to the Public Safety Commission for further review on item E, 2E.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thanks, guys.
Now,
All right, item 5C.
my question on 5C, Mr. Chair, is that we're talking seal coating, and we're talking some streets that were just paved. And I'm confused in the first paragraph of the memorandum dated March 10th to the town board from Dale. It says a regular scheduled interval of 5 to 8 years. The road's useful life can be extended. Yet in the second paragraph, we're including Columbia parking lot, which was just redone, and Mahagan Lane and Mahagan Court, which were done in the last 2 years. And so I'm questioning why those are included in this as we're allocating money.
Dale?
Yeah, so I added those because the sooner we can get the UV protection seal coat on there, it's been proven to have a longer life and to be more beneficial even than waiting the 5 to 8. The 5 to 8. We can certainly wait 5 to 8, but the science showing that the sooner the better than later. So. And a lot of communities are actually seal coating right after they install the wear course for extra protection.
Does the seal coat prevent UV radiation then?
Yeah, it'll prevent that that oil from going out of the surface of the newly paved road. It slows that process.
You would learn something new every day.
Well, if that is the case,
Should say
then
that.
why, on all of our road projects, are we going to do this going forward on all of our road projects that we're just
Going
completing?
forward, that is going to be my recommendation, yes.
Well, that's going to increase the cost.
And I've worked with
Yeah.
Larry and I have talked about this, and there was a few street segments that were, like you mentioned, Steve, newer, and we thought we would fill those in this year.
Well,
Wait a minute, you talked to Larry, but what about Tom Kelly, who is going to have to try to fund this?
Yeah, and he's fine with the funding at what I have, the $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
This year I didn't have there's not enough. I didn't add any of the. That was as far as I went with the seal coating, the extent with the newer streets.
So then I'm guessing that we're going to start seal coating the south side streets that we just did last year and the year before?
Yeah, probably the ones north of F next year, and the ones because they were just finished up on that south F. I'll probably wait until that area's been done for a year also. So it might be a little longer. The street section south F.
So, Dale, I'm not questioning your recommendation. This is just for my own education. Is there a particular street condition or a particular part of town that has more of a propensity to being seal coated right after it's just been paved, or are we just applying this as a general rule to everywhere?
As a general rule to our newly redone
Okay.
roads,
All right.
get the surface treatment sooner than the 5 to 8 year window.
Got it. Thank you.
Wait a minute, does this mean we have to review our road pavement plan, because it's not the way it read originally? Seems like we're adjusting that on a consent, and I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Nor do I, actually.
Maybe we should just pull this for the executive
Yeah,
session
I think that's a smart move, so we can hear Larry's rationale also.
and have Tom
with
there.
Tom. Because this has got to change our budget line.
Well, we've been budgeting for 150,000 of this a year for several years now, right, Dale?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now all of a sudden, that was to try to keep roads 5 to 8. Now all of a sudden, we're doing them roads 2? Oh,
But on the flip side of that is that we wouldn't be doing them, we're not gonna apply any more, applications than the 3 we have been. So it's just we're hoping the return, it will push that mill and overlay out maybe 4 years, 5, we don't know that, but that is the experience that other communities are having.
Well, Dale, we hired TKDA to manage, to provide recommendations, in my opinion, for our road prices. This is a complete new item for me to have it move from 5 to 8 years to now down to 2 to 3 years without discussion. And I got a question. Have the bids have already went out, so you're kind of between a rock and a hard place to get some of the bid accepted?
The bids have been out, but until you award it, there's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a time to have to accept it or reject them?
Well, I think it's 35 days we give them.
So we have time to discuss it Friday?
Sure.
And get it back on the agenda?
Yeah, we can move it there.
Mr. Chair, I vote to table this item until we have our executive meeting on Friday and return it for a possible vote.
I would second that.
all right. Motion's made to move this to our exec meeting. It's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Thanks,
Right.
Dale.
Yep,
Talk to you about it tomorrow.
sounds good.
Thanks, bye.
Great, thank you.
And I do want to just echo what Steve said a minute ago. I'm not questioning Dale's recommendation. I'm just shocked.
I mean, if
Nothing shocks me anymore.
Well,
Well, but,
Comes to our
but I'm
streets.
still confused if it's 2 to 3 after a new road and then back to 5 to 8, or now it's just 2 to 3 period. Because that doubles the cost for the amount of seal coating we gotta be doing. So this is something we can't take too lightly, especially because of all the time we put into the pavement management plan. And then this is just kind of dumped in our lap, so.
yeah,
I mean, just after we learned that all the work we've done, we're still falling behind schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This doesn't help.
Yeah.
And even though the amount was almost half of what we budgeted for, it's just. All right. Okay, let's move on. Item 6 is old business, the emergency management team report. Patrick?
Nothing to report from that standpoint, Mr. Chair, although they're still looking at another new variant in Europe that may cause a spike over here again, so.
No issues with staff?
No?
All right. Board have any other questions of Patrick?
Nope.
All right, moving on. Number 7 is the public hearing. This is for a vacation and drainage and utility easement request for 4850 Constellation Drive. I need a motion to waive the reading.
So moved?
Second.
All fair say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Then I need a motion to open it up, and this would be, Evan?
I'll move to open up the public hearing.
Second.
All fair say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Well, I'm sorry, this is a continuation.
Right.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
a continuation, yeah.
All right, Evan.
And say, I believe Patty has a short memo and all the materials in your packet. She got the updated survey, because I believe last time it wasn't signed. And so everything should be included in there for you guys' approval at this time.
I know the building was sold, correct?
Yes.
Does that have anything to do with any of this procedure?
It does,
New
Mr.
owners?
Chair, from the standpoint that you're requesting a replacement easement. This is a replacement easement, so the new owner has to execute it, and they did.
Okay.
And this is because we had some utilities in place. They built the building and had to move the utilities. Or do we still have access to these utilities? So what are we vacating?
Well, my understanding was that, yeah, they had to move some of the utilities,
Okay,
and that this is the location of the new utilities, the reconstructed utilities.
so we no longer need the easement that we used to have,
Right,
and that's what we're vacating?
exactly.
Okay,
Which,
thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I think you should condition the vacation upon the recording of this new replacement easement. I don't know if that's been done yet or not.
Oh, no.
Do you know, Evan?
I don't know if it's been recorded or not, but it'd probably be good to add that as a condition.
I tried to check today, but I just ran out of time. So I'm gonna have the answer by the exec meeting.
All right, any other, Scott? Steve?
No,
All right.
I think the reason it was delayed all the time is they hadn't finished their build-out, and then we didn't want to do it until it was done, and now it's all done and sold and resold, and we're back to here, so.
All right, I need a motion to open up for public comment.
Move to open up the public comment.
Second.
All fair say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to
One at a
this?
time, one at a time.
Seeing none, move to close public portion.
Move to close the public portion of the hearing.
Second.
All fair say aye.
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 Aye. If there's no other discussion or questions, guess we're looking for a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution ordering vacation of a drainage and utility easement upon recording of the vacated easement.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Hey, Mr. Chair, I think what you wanted to say was that you move to vacate the existing easement subject to the recording of the replacement easement.
That is correct.
Second.
All right, that motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, item 8 is new business. This is Thomas and Roberta Glenn, 4495 Margaret Street, setback variance request. Is that you, Evan?
Yep. Are you guys ready? So, this is a variance request for a existing shed, so it's technically an after-the-fact request. They are looking to keep this shed within the setback from the road. Our zoning ordinance requires a 35-foot setback from any right-of-way, and so since they're on a corner lot, they have it from both the north side as well as the east side. The shed is proposed to be located behind an existing fence. There is some existing vegetation as well, although it would be closer than the rest of the structures on the street, and so if you were to be to the west or to the east of it, it would probably stand out and be a little bit visible to those that are nearby. This item was reviewed a couple of times at the variance board. There was some issues with the plans. The exact setbacks were not exactly measured correctly, and so there are some concerns about exactly, where they're requesting the variance from. There's also no calculation on impervious surface of the site, and so there was not a confirmation if that would trigger an additional variance as well. It was tabled originally in January to allow the applicant to revise their plans and address the issues. They were not able to do that or chose not to. In February, the variance board recommended denial. In February as well, the planning commission reviewed the request. They also had the same concerns as the variance board and also recommended denial. And so tonight, the recommendation to the board would be to deny the request because it is not meeting the variance criteria.
You mentioned after the fact. You say
So,
you should,
yeah, so Mike goes and obviously inspects and makes sure that, things are compliant. This shed had obviously been built without a permit. He informed the applicant that they would, as well as needing a building permit, you'd also need a variance due to the location being within the front yard. So he was originally going through the process and then decided to not address the concerns at this time.
so how does that stand with, is it red tagged, or what did Mike exactly do?
So if the variance isn't issued by you guys, he would be able to, issue him to move it or, remove it, so. I say it's not a very large shed, so the applicant could, in theory, just move it elsewhere on the lot or, take it off quite easily, but
And so the applicant's aware of all this.
mhm.
I'm surprised they didn't show.
I was wondering the same.
I say we reached out to them after January. We extended the timeline to allow them to have ample time to revise their plans. Mike had been in contact with them, and it sounded like they were going to revise them. Then at some point they decided not to, and so
Were
at this
they,
point, this is kind of where we're sitting at with this.
were they
situation.
aware that they were on the agenda tonight?
Mhm.
Is this going to be another one of those up, tough hop? Where we seem to get a bunch of those?
Mike,
I-
I mean, there's only so much we can do.
I know, but Chad, if they're just going to say no or just ignore us, what's our recourse?
Recourse is to, Mike will first order them to move the shed to a proper location, because, well, actually, since we don't have an impervious surface calculation, you could also order them to destroy the shed, to
You
take
could,
the shed
yeah.
down.
Is this going to have to come from just Mike, or do we need for you to get involved?
I think initially it's gotta come from Mike.
Yeah, I say, first come from Mike, and then
Chad can supplement it.
I'll have to send the letter.
All right, so Patrick, you want to confer with Mike on this so we can, but even so, we still have a motion in front of us.
Mhm.
Any other questions or discussion?
You asked the questions I was going to ask. I mean, if it's after the fact and if it's in violation, what's the impact? Sounds like he could move it, or we could ask him to take it down.
Yep.
And then how do we do that? But,
We had this happen on Otter Lake Road, right on the corner of Otter Lake Road and Hennessy Vista. And
That must have been before I was here, I don't remember that
I
one.
know, it's where they were always hanging all those signs from the kids, and
No,
then they put a fence up to cover it up.
Oh,
that particular property, the planning commission did discuss that there were practical difficulties with that property to have it located much else, because there's really no backyard there.
Wasn't there a drainage issue?
There's a drainage, there were some drainage issues, and that did go before the planning commission, and they had reasons why they would allow that. This one is after the fact, but there are options.
I just want to make sure we stay consistent. and
Well, they-
That's the one that comes to mind.
Yeah,
so.
they did take a look at that.
I would say this, there's no wetlands, there's no lakes, there's no water bodies, there is potentially areas in the yard if the impervious surface is fine that it could be located in, so.
All right, any other questions, discussions?
No.
So then we're probably looking for a motion to deny, I believe?
that's what the recommendation was.
Yes, I think I'll make a motion that we deny the variance for reasons that we've stated.
I think you might want to refer
Yeah,
to
you
the
might
ones.
Oh,
from-
Yes, we need to.
Deny it based on the variance board, planning commission, and staff review and recommendations. The variance request due to the request not meeting all the variance criteria.
We don't have to list these findings, do we?
No.
We just,
You would adopt the findings set
Okay.
forth, yes.
As the findings set forth in the packet.
does that work?
That'll work.
Second.
all right, motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right. Moving on, 8B, we have the state redistricting.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to summarize this as best I can.
I can do it for you.
You wanna do it?
Too, yeah.
Great.
It's actually pretty straightforward.
Well,
Yeah, if you're a legal mind.
exactly. The way I understand, Chad,
I've been
just
told
to-
I have one, so.
just to test my own knowledge,
Go ahead.
you
Go ahead.
can't have a district in two, or no, a precinct in two legislative districts.
That's exactly right.
And so to provide convenience to the folks that are used to going to their usual polling place, they're going to accommodate them by keeping them in the usual polling place, but notifying them that they have to vote in a different part of that polling place, correct?
Yes, exactly.
What?
Bottom line is,
Wait a minute,
Well-
you have two different parts of a polling place?
well, you'll have, they'll go to that corner,
Yep.
and they'll go to that corner. Correct.
Okay.
That's easy.
I'm an election judge, and at precinct 1, where they vote, We already have part of the township that is in Shoreview as an example. And they, at the Ramsey County divides up the ballots by the location for their precincts. I mean, their precinct will vote at Otter Lake School.
Yeah.
And their material will represent the precinct that they are.
That is correct.
And that is all taken care of when they come in the front door by the election officials.
Right.
So there is no separate place in there. They all vote,
Oh, that's how they do it.
but that's how it
Okay.
works. But
All right.
it's all
Oh, okay,
electronic,
okay.
and it'll pop up, it'll show that you are in precinct 4 and a registered voter, and you go through that, you get the ballot that applies for precinct 4 in case there's local elections in addition to state or federal,
Yep.
and it moves through fluently,
Okay, because
and it's separated in the ballot boxes.
that's interesting, because the Ramsey County was assuming you'd actually have separate voting areas, but.
They may, but they're the ones that run our, unless they're changing it in the next election, that's how it's been handled in the
And
past.
I guess that probably makes the.
Well, that makes
most
sense. As
Yeah.
long as they get the right ballot, that's the important thing.
And as an example, the school board was the last thing that was different for different voters. The school district for Shoreview and White Bear.
Okay.
And they got separate ballots to address their referendums that were dealing specifically with their precinct area.
So realistically, this isn't going to affect our residents.
No.
Because it's automatically done, so that it's nothing they have to be concerned about.
If what Steve's saying is accurate, yeah. Or
They will be notified that they are in Senate District Blup or House District Blup, and that they're placed to vote. They'll get their little green certificate that tells them where to go vote.
Right.
And it'll say Otter Lake School, I'm assuming. They'll go there and it's all done cosmetically behind the scenes.
But their
They still have
representatives
to
will
create a
change?
separate precinct for them.
Correct.
Right.
yes.
Which is all you're really doing, is creating a separate precinct for them.
Yes.
But to Ed's point, it affects them in that they're going to have different representatives in the
Oh, yeah.
future.
Yes.
Right, that's correct.
I think they need
And
to,
that's a big chunk of people in the Meadowlands, right? I mean,
yeah.
there's quite a few homes there.
And where it affects them is at the state level, but as far as White Bear Township, they are still voting
Remember,
participants.
we didn't do this.
Yeah, White Bear Township.
I suspect we have absolutely zero input. Okay.
Exactly.
Exactly.
The state Supreme Court decided the districts.
No, it's done by the courts.
And that's effective when?
For this next
Next
election.
But they're still have their current representatives until the next election.
That is
Exactly.
correct.
Okay.
Which is, if there's primaries, that would come into play at primary time.
Which is exactly right, yeah,
Yeah.
it would.
So, probably August,
Yep.
earliest.
Yeah.
If there are primaries, I guess. I don't know.
All right, so Chad, you looked over the resolution. You have any issues with it?
No. Once Patty and I figured out what they were up to.
All right, is there any other questions of the board? Hearing none, I need a motion to adopt.
I'll move to adopt the resolution adopting the new redistricting map.
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. Is the township required to do any of mailing or notifications?
No.
No,
Okay.
best resolution ever.
And we'll go through this again in 10 years.
Probably.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe even 4.
No, but I would say the township office should be aware of this because
Yeah, we
because when they get their thing, they might be confused that they're used to hearing themselves as precinct 1.
Yep.
And now it'll say precinct 4, and you gotta understand that doesn't mean White Bear Township precinct 4, it's precinct 4 of this new district, I guess is what it is. Yeah, but there are differences.
Well, like I said, as long as we've got information for them when they call, because there may be some confusion with
Okay.
this.
Well, to be honest with you, the biggest problem was trying to figure out what area the county was talking about.
Yeah.
Because Patty did not have available the old map, so we couldn't really tell exactly what the district, initially, it took a while, we figured it out.
All right, moving on. Item 9A, added agenda item is the lake level.
Yes, Mr. Chair, when I was out last week, I received an invitation to Senator Chamberlain holding a discussion at the White Bear Chamber of Commerce regarding the legislative option for a solution to the lake level issue. They're having a forum tomorrow to discuss this. Number one, wanted to know if the board's position was still a wait-and-see approach through legal first and foremost. And even with that as your first and foremost option, if you wanted staff to be in attendance or one of the supervisors to be in attendance at the discussion, or maybe the township attorney, or if we should have anybody there at all to talk about this, because I do think we're going to be there will be advocacy for a resolution coming from the township in support of a legislative solution, which is passed the Senate subcommittee and was moved on to debate at the House.
Chad, what do you recommend?
I wouldn't change our position at all. I mean, would it be a good idea to go down and hear what people have to say? Probably would be, but I don't think we should make any change in our position that was established earlier.
Is there pros and cons for us to send someone?
Well, I would say as long as there's no commitments being made, I think the pro is at least, it's always a good idea to know exactly what's going on. Mainly because there's also a possibility they might discuss another change to the proposed language.
Sure.
So it's always good to find out what's happening. what
I'm
they're
more
up
than
to.
happy to fulfill that role, guys, if you not want me to go.
Tomorrow night,
Sure.
5:30? I'm not available,
No,
so.
neither am I, so that would eliminate.
But I would prefer to have someone there. I just didn't want to say, geez, someone should be there, but I can't be there. But if you're willing to do that, because I think our residents would want someone in the know to be there.
Yep.
Because this is a crucial issue going forward, whether we adopt a resolution one way or the other at some point, to know what our elected officials have to say.
Sure. Scott, unless you have your heart set on it, I can go.
Did you receive any kind of agenda, or it's just an open?
There were 2 examples of resolutions, but no real agenda.
Well, it said that Senator Chamberlain wants to have a discussion of alternatives for including pumping water into the lake.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know how you can accomplish all that within an hour, but
Give it our best shot, right?
I don't know how in the world we could justify conserving water and then turn around and pump millions of gallons into a lake.
And I thought that the DNR told us that it was not recommended to be pumping water into White Bear Lake anyway. Maybe I'm
well,
misunderstanding.
No, that was, go ahead, yeah.
they
Sorry.
talked about their lake chemicals was totally unique, and that's why
Yeah.
they did not want it. So this is kind of like, now all of a sudden, that's an option to change
So-
the chemicals, so.
So it's probably good that I do go, because
Yeah.
I can find out why. Because that's what I thought the big premise was, is that we would violate the purity of the water.
Not only that, they wanted a chemical or a water treatment plant before they got the water to White Bear. So not only are you pumping it, now you're putting up this huge treatment plant.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually asked by a couple residents earlier today, what about running a pipe from Snail Lake directly into White Bear Lake? And I mentioned what you just described, that the water was not the same type.
Yeah,
And there was some surprise about that.
okay.
But just for my education, we want to, this proclamation or declaration or whatever support legislative assistance that would allow affected municipalities continued operation under their approved water supply plans until a reasonable
Yeah.
solution can be found for sustainable water supply. That sounds pretty nice. Is there more to it that makes this proposed legislation not as palatable?
The reason I would advise against is because, first of all, we don't even know if Judge Marin's going to change her order Because right now, the DNR has made it clear, or the DNR through the Attorney General's office made it clear that they do not intend to go to 55 gallons on their own. They would only do it through an amended order from Judge Marinan. And right now, at 70, if Judge Marinan does not amend anything, at 75 gallons per day, we've been doing that right now, 75 and 80. So it seems kind of pointless that unless she amends her order, in which case I think they'd have to have a whole new hearing, almost a whole new trial on the water level, or the water level, or amount of water pumped, I should say. We're just kind of poking a hornet's nest here.
Chad, isn't the way it should work is that the legislature legislates laws and the judiciary interprets them?
That's right, and that's what the judiciary is doing in this case. They're interpreting a law that's been on the books for
That's already existed.
40 or 50 years, I think.
But drawing the line in the map and saying 75 gallons, that was part of the interpretation of the existing legislature?
No, that was part of the interpretation of the application of the existing law was that as the court found that pumping groundwater was damaging the lake, which is a natural resource. And under the way the statute's written, damage of natural resource is considered to be pollution. So you had to find a way of resolving that damage. And she, based on the testimony given by experts, found that the 5 mile limit was the 5 miles around the lake was the limit of what wells were damaging the lake. Keep in mind that the big problem here is the fact that the science at the time of the trial was not that accurate.
It's evolved since then.
It's evolved since then.
Well,
But in defense of the, as long as we're having this discussion, of the legislative process, they're only in session for a short amount of time. And so, and the judge has how long to make the ruling based on her 75 gallon versus 55? She has till
Well,
the
that's,
session's over.
here's the way I see it happening, is first of all, there's a hearing, I believe, the emails have been going back and forth trying to schedule a new hearing in front of the judge. And right now, I believe that was scheduled for April 27th, but I have to double check because,
Near the end of April.
yeah,
most
near the end
likely.
of April. Well, at that point, someone's, if the DNR doesn't bring it up, I'm going to bring it up because it's sitting out there. And the DNR, again, has made it clear through their attorneys, at least their attorneys have made it clear. The DNR may not agree with it, but the attorneys have made it clear that they are not going to impose this unilaterally. That's going to have to come through an amendment to the court order, which actually makes sense because the court order established what had to be, what the remediation that had to be done to
So
cure
that's
the
after
problem.
the session, most likely after the session is over. She has days,
90
90
days. Yeah,
days.
to answer your question, yeah, well, that's assumed she decides she's going to hold a new hearing. She has 90 days to make that decision. Then if she's going to, after that, then there might be a whole new, I would think there'd have to be a whole new hearing to determine whether or not, because to change it from 75 gallons to 50 gallons, and at the same time basically forbid any service to a public institutions such as schools, that's, in my mind, that goes against what the statute's all about. It changes it completely because before that point, it was clear that that you could supply water to everyone at the level of 75 gallons, that it wouldn't affect the ability to supply water to people, you wouldn't have to cut anyone off, that's what I'm trying to say. Now, at 55 gallons, the DNR is saying we will have to cut people off. That's a completely different set of facts than what was considered at trial.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
I have to believe that the judge, I'm just assumption, that she can see the flaw based on the new data to the old data, that there is a fraction between the two, that could have a public safety entity that she needs to address.
I wouldn't say much a flaw so much as the fact that now with this new level that the DNR is proposing, that the DNR is expecting her to adopt and enforce, that the implications of who's affected by this are much different than what it was at 75 gallons.
If this information had been available 5 years ago, whatever it was, when the ruling was made, there's the possibility the ruling may have been different?
Sure. Yes, exactly.
So, maybe I shouldn't say this because it's very selfish for the township. So you guys are the decision makers. You can completely put my position off to the side. I don't see why there's any problem with not, or from an optics position, not joining on to the legislative solution and waiting out legal from the judge. Because one way or the other, if you are not a board that supports by resolution the legislative process, you are showing the judge that you aren't going against what her ruling is, and at the same time, you're waiting for her ruling to come out on how to proceed. And if she doesn't have a problem with the legislative process, we're going to be part of that, right?
Yes. And we're bordering almost on going into a closed session here. We're not quite there, but we're getting close.
But that's why I don't understand why this meeting tomorrow. Isn't this kind of, they still don't know what's going to happen with the ruling and the judge? That,
Well,
Maybe he's just looking to gauge people's reaction.
Might be.
yeah,
Roger does that. Yep.
He may want to see if people show up and if people have opinions and if they say, stay out of it, or there's going to be probably people there that say, stay out of the judge's business. I mean, I've read these articles that say the legislature should not impact a judge's decision. Well, I don't know. I think it's supposed to be the other way. I think the legislature legislates and the judicial interprets, and I'm just,
yeah, well,
from
that's
what
correct.
my layman's position.
No, that's right.
But if the legislature wants to enact a law, and, I'm sorry, I got distracted, now I forgot what I was going to say. So, wrap it up.
Well, I mean,
I would prefer someone to be there. I'll just leave it at that if we're going to.
well, I think, in a way, like I said, if they're only just looking for input,
Yeah.
just our
That was it.
presence is,
Yep.
is enough to say we're,
That would be it.
Like I said, more than happy to go. Well, let me rephrase that. If you'd like me to go, I'll
this,
go.
this isn't the Zoom type of meeting too, is it?
No, it's in person.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
And a few weeks ago, you had drafted some statement.
Yeah.
That's still, the wording is not going to change.
I'll bring that in my back pocket.
Okay.
All right, any other questions, comments on that?
No.
Moving on, we have open time. Again,
One at a time.
please approach the podium. All right, we have no one here, so we're going to move on. I need a motion to receive agenda material and supplements.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries. I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned at 7:43.
Thanks, folks.